No, that's not my home. He's in this. No, no, he's in this. You can just like a partial. Yeah, we'll just talk.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. This is our first OnPointe Town Hall. Want to remind you what our focus is today. We're going to be talking about specifically this government shutdown. This is not an opposition meeting. We want to inform everyone as to how you can navigate this particular time that we live in, learn all about what the shutdown is all about. The different representatives are here today. Department of Labor is here. Representatives from Mr. Norcross's office are here. Mr. Booker's office is here. You'll be able to make contact with the constituent services parts of those offices. And the reason we've made this, given this the format that we have, is because it's not partisan, it's just benefit, how to navigate this particular time. We've got some people here that can talk to those federal workers who perhaps feel as though their jobs are being threatened. We are going to have a great discussion about the things that are being affecting us as regular working folk and how we can get through this shutdown. Going to have it defined for you. Going to have a ground level a conversation with you concerning the shutdown, the impact it has, anything on your job, your communities, your health care. We're ready to answer any question. We're going to keep focused on the subject today so we don't get into a war between sides. Amen. Just so you can get a fuller understanding of the environment that we're in at this moment. I want to remind you that resources are available at the tables in the hallway. don't leave without stopping by and finding out what you may need. Find the different buttons and levers that you can pull and push to get answers that you need in a time when answers are not coming as clearly and as quickly as we would like them to. Every Saturday morning at about 9 a.m. we start what is called the OnPointe broadcast. That broadcast is worldwide, so you are part of a very large internet audience at this time. We are looking for some more people to come in. It is Saturday morning. People have worked all week, and folk are slow getting out of bed, so we are glad you're here early. Amen. And we're looking forward to having this conversation with you this morning. Security is here and some of our people are here to make sure that whatever you need, simply ask, and we will do our best to accommodate you in every area that is appropriate today. So I don't want anyone to feel strange. We want to welcome you to our church. We hope this is not the last time you come, and we're looking forward to having a very stimulating conversation. My co-host every week for the last how many years?
I don't even know.
Okay. We've been doing this OnPointe stream and radio at the time when radio was more popular, so we've been doing this broadcast hour for at least 15 or 20 years at this point, and so we're well established. This is the first time we've attempted this, but we felt like it was necessary to bring folk together, to get some live answers, and to just get a little more secure understanding and knowledge helps you navigate a little more certainly. So we want to make sure you get the understanding that you need, that people are asking the questions. Now we have forms for you to fill out your questions. We're not going to have an open mic because we know people start to interpret and tell us their life stories when they stand up rather than getting to the question. Amen. So what we've done is try to make sure it's as less riotous as possible, because we've seen how these meetings can get out of control. But I guarantee you, you're in the right place, and it will not get out of control today. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so we are simply glad that those that are joining us online from around the country are here. Ms. Espinoza is here from Mr. Norcross's office. You can come now, and we would, let's welcome her.
Welcome.
Absolutely. I know she looks real young, but she's an expert and has a lot of knowledge. She's here representing Mr. Norcross's office, and how we prepared for you today is to make sure that we're going to talk ground level, not politician side, but consumer side of this particular season that we're in. So she's prepared. I'm sure she has an opening statement and what you need to say, and we're just glad you're here.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Pastor Evans or Bishop Evans, and thank you for Pastor Smith for reaching out to our office to invite us today. Just a little bit about myself. I know that Bishop Evans keeps mentioning we are talking here on, the constituent service side. I've been working for the Congressman for 10 years, and I got my start helping people as a constituent services representative, then moved my way up to constituent services director, and now I am the Congressman's district director. So when it comes to casework and reaching out to federal agencies, it's something that I've been doing for about 15 years. So I am happy to answer any questions that you guys may have in regards to those agencies, and thank you very much for the compliment. I appreciate that. Thank you to all of you who have come out today. As Bishop Evans mentioned, I am Gina Espinoza, and I am the Congressman's district director. Unfortunately, the Congressman had a prior obligation today, but wanted to make sure that I came out to be able to talk to all of you and to hear from you. Most importantly, to let you all know that even though the government is shut down, our office is not shut down. And our staff is always here to help you, reaching out to different federal agencies, and to hear from you, because that's what guides us. Please feel free to call us with any issues you have, whether they be federal, state, local. We are always happy to get your inquiries to the most appropriate place to make sure that they're answered. As all of you know, and as Bishop Evans has spoke about, the government is currently shut down. The Congressman is frustrated with all of the ongoing pursuit of the Trump administration and the Republicans slashing benefits. With the big ugly bill, Trump and the Republicans cut Medicaid and Medicare. And now they would rather make healthcare premiums skyrocket and keep the government shut down than negotiate with each other for the American public. The Affordable Care Act tax credits, if they're not extended, right here in the Congressman's district alone, 24,000 people will be affected. Their health care will be affected. And across the nation, 22 million people will be affected. And they will see their costs rise. And what that looks like is for the average home making $85,000 joint income, they're currently seeing about an $8,000 premium per year. That premium will skyrocket to $24,000 a year if this does not change. This is why the Democrats are holding the line, because we can't see that happen. That will affect all of our health insurance. We know that you're all concerned, and we want to let you know what you will see and what you will feel with this shutdown. When it comes to Social Security and the Veterans Administration, these are essential services. As recipients, you will continue to receive your benefits, and the VA hospital will continue to stay open. You can go in, you can apply for new benefits. With Medicare and Medicaid, existing recipients will be unaffected for the next few months. Postal Service, immigration, application processing, and passports, all of that processing will stay open, and you can continue to access it because it's a fee-for-service system, so it is not based on appropriations. However, with WIC and SNAP, this is where we will really feel it. For New Jersey, we only have funding for about 2 weeks. And at this point, it's probably about a week and a half. This means that food for children, formula for babies, and meals for those that are in need are on the line. I see that Food Bank for South Jersey is right outside. Please make sure that you're in touch with them. For anyone that you know that has these services, that is going to be their lifeline. I know that we met with Food Bank of South Jersey recently, and they told us that for every one meal that the Food Bank of South Jersey nationwide, all of the food banks give out, SNAP provides 9. So if you can think about what the impact is that we will see on people, it will be great. So certainly get their information and make sure that if you know someone, you connect them with the Food Bank of South Jersey, who is a network of pantries throughout South Jersey. What we will definitely see delays in is food, water, and workplace safety inspections. And if you're traveling, make sure you arrive early, because there will be delays when we start to see TSA workers calling out of work. Meanwhile, federal employees are being furloughed, and for the first time in the history of government shutdowns, their jobs are being threatened. If you would like more information on frequently asked questions about the shutdown or resources, or for federal employees or for yourself, or for anyone that's facing furloughs or job loss, please contact the Congressman's office. You can also certainly visit our website. We have resources listed on the website. That's norcross.house.gov. Or you can always go to the Congressman's website to share your story. Let us know how this government shutdown is affecting you and your family and your community. It's important to share this information to let us know so that we can share it with the congressman. And then finally, please remember that you can always contact our office, whether it's Cherry Hill, our Camden office, or our DC office. We're always happy to talk to you. And our number is 856-427-7000. I do have information out on a table in the hallway, and please take some information. Like I said, my name's Gina. I'm happy to speak with all of you at any time. And now I'm also happy to take any questions if I cannot answer them for you directly or if they're personal in nature. Please feel free to, I also brought privacy release forms. Please feel free to fill one out. You can either give it to me now or drop it off our office or send it to us, and we will certainly respond to your inquiry. Thank you so much again for all of your time, for being here, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. You helped me with a few things. I did not know that the food bank had pantries that were open to individuals. I thought it was only about mass distribution. So that's a resource that if you know anyone who is having a food issue, there are resources. In addition to that, we partner with the food bank here, and we've already received word that the budget was being cut. However, as a faith community, we responded. Our people have begun to bring canned goods and dry goods to the church. Our distribution times are on Fridays, so you can simply call the church or go to the website and find out when you can come to the church and get bags of food to take home to your families. If you know someone who has that need, we would love for you to help them by referring them to us so that we can make sure that they get the food that they need at the time. We also are becoming more equipped to handle emergencies because sometimes people have a food need between our distribution dates, and they can come to the church and we can make sure that they walk away with enough food to satisfy them in that moment. So don't hesitate. Make sure. Now, the reason that the constituent office is important for all of you, no matter what party, no matter where you live, the reason it's important is because relationships drive this world. And when you tap into the constituent services arm of your politician's office, that can shorten your result time, but also give you clearer steps on how to and what to do to get a response that you need. So this is something that a lot of people are not aware of. They have a separate office in every political office designed to handle your problem in a very personal way. So you don't want to overlook this. A lot of times when we are having a difficult situation, we get so caught up in how we feel that we don't reach for the things that will help us. So the constituent service office of both of these offices that are represented today at the resource centers in the hallway can give you the information. You can have the conversations to bring your issue or your situation to a much quicker resolution. So this is something you need to know. Don't immediately accept defeat. Now you have a way of pressing a button to find out what's available to you in any situation, and your local politician can move in their relationships to get you the result that you need. Did that make sense? All right, so we want you to be aware of that. Please don't leave today without going to both tables. It is good to be seen, introduce yourself, so the voice on the phone is connected to a face. Does that make sense to you all? Mm-hmm. All right, so the reason being is that if you go into your local bank, you never talk to the manager, you never talk to the tellers, you never talk to the platform people. When you have a problem, you're just a voice. So today is a day to introduce yourself to the people that are the bridge to your politicians. And you want to make sure that you do that. And those of you watching us around the country, no matter where you are, whether it's Florida, California, or Texas, each politician has a constituent services arm that you can access. That make sense? All right. As it relates to basic needs, what is your feeling about? Is there a general misunderstanding of what a shutdown is? And you've actually helped me today understand that shut down does not mean everything shut down, but there are vital things, like those of you that are my age, like 73. No, nobody's that old? Right. You know, first thing I thought about was, you know, what's up with my Social Security check? You know,
Right.
if it's shut down, does that mean it's shut down? And I was very glad to hear that the checks keep on coming.
Yes.
There may be one or two of you that are at my age that are glad about that too. But are there other payments that we might be concerned about that don't get interrupted because of a shutdown?
Yes, so as I mentioned, veterans who receive benefits, whether it's a pension or disability, also will continue to receive your check. Pensions as well, you'll receive if you're a federal employee or retired federal employee. I think that there is a misconception with government in general. And at the beginning of speaking, I mentioned to you, please feel free to come to us, whether it's an issue at the federal level, the state level, or the local level. I think it can be really confusing, and I think you brought up a really good point that when you are facing a tough time, the last thing you're thinking about is what government official should I reach out to, right? You're thinking, how am I going to put food on the table? How am I going to fix this issue with the IRS that sent me this very confusing letter? You're thinking about, why did Social Security, send me less money this month than last month? You're not thinking about which level of government to reach out to, and that is why I stress to you all, just reach out to our office, reach out to Senator Booker's office. We will make sure we get you to the right place. And I think that is a big misconception, that people sometimes don't differentiate whether it's a federal issue, a state issue, or a local matter. So, for instance, the anchor benefits, it's a state-based program. It will continue because all of the state government is open. All of your local government is open, your county government. This is just federal. So when you think about federal government, think about something that touches the entire country and affects everyone across state lines. State benefits are things that are just New Jersey. County is just your county, and then local is just your town. And like I said, and I reiterate, you can reach out to us for all of it, because in that time when you're going through a stressful moment, it's hard for you to determine or to look up the phone number for who it is, and we'll be that person to figure it out for you and to make sure that we won't just give you a phone number. We're going to actually take your inquiry and pass it along to the right department, the right elected official for you, and make that connection so that you don't have to take the extra step. No matter what, you take one step and we'll do the rest of the footwork for you. And I'm sure that goes for Senator Booker's office as well. We pride ourselves on constituent services. It is the lifeblood of our office. And a lot of people don't realize that members of Congress, their local elected officials, county commissioners, and state assembly members, they all have offices just like ours. And I like to refer to us as boots on the ground. We are the ears and the eyes for the congressman, and we are what keeps him having a sense constantly of what is going on in the district, because of course they're always going between DC and our district. But I think that summarizes the question.
Some of you may not, you mentioned the anchor program, those of you that live in New Jersey. Some may not really understand what that is. Can you explain that for us?
Yes, so the anchor program is a rebate, a tax rebate that is provided to people that are homeowners as well as renters, and it is sent to you in the mail. If you do not receive it or if you have not received it, definitely reach out to our office. We'll get you in touch with the state elected officials. It is a New Jersey Treasury program, and we'll get you in touch with the New Jersey Treasury about it. It's also, that office handles the senior freeze program, the property tax reimbursement program. So if you are a senior, definitely something, if you're not already receiving it and you're a homeowner, you should look into. And then Stay New Jersey is a new program as well.
What's the benefit of the Anchor program?
The Anchor program is for apartments, it's a few $100s. For homeowners, it's, I think, $1,000 or more. Yeah, so it's definitely beneficial to look into.
Did you all know about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you accessed it?
Good, good, wonderful.
Praise the Lord.
Just checking, because sometimes we know and then we don't do. All right, don't feel like the paperwork, but I think a couple minutes filling it out is worth what the benefit is.
One thing that I can say is affected right now by the appropriations is the Taxpayer Advocate Service. So the IRS has a program that is called Taxpayer Advocate Service, and it's a local office that you can go to directly to get help in preparation of your taxes, or if you have an issue with taxes, that is who you would go to. And for our office, it is who we reach out to if someone comes to our office with an issue with your taxes, federal taxes. They are appropriated, so they shut down on Tuesday of this week. So currently they are not open. Of course, it's not current tax season unless you filed an extension, but if you do have an issue, like I said, still reach out to our office. We're going to continue to send our inquiries to them, and once the shutdown opens up, the government opens back up, they will immediately look into those inquiries, and we will resend them again once the government opens back up.
I came on a slow bus today. Can you? What? I'm hearing things I didn't know. So, as it relates to taxes, what kind of problem does that particular arm help us navigate?
The Taxpayer Advocate Service?
Yeah.
So if you wanted to file your taxes, there are people that can help you file them. There also, let's say you have received a letter from the IRS that states that you owe money and you don't believe that you owed it, and you want to get that issue fixed. You can go to the Taxpayer Advocate Service and dispute the issue. Or let's say you believe that you should have received a refund and you didn't receive a refund, or there was a check that was lost in the mail and you didn't ever receive it, or if someone took your check and cashed it for you, or cashed it on your behalf without you knowing. These things, I've seen them all. That's who you would go to, Taxpayer Advocate Service. But of course, like I said, you could always come to our office and we'll work with the Taxpayer Advocate Service on your behalf. And it helps, they're an intermediary, and they're like the boots on the ground for the IRS.
It sounds to me like the constituent office is kind of a mediator.
Yes.
I know from personal experience that I hadn't filed for Social Security because it just felt too complicated. I was intimidated by the system. And I don't know if you've ever experienced any of that.
Yeah.
I just felt like there was so much bureaucracy that I had other things to do. And I just delayed and delayed and delayed. And then I called the office. And when I got the call from Social Security, it was like they were absolutely familiar with my issue. They walked me through it, and what I thought was going to take, weeks to do, took minutes on the phone. So I have personal experience with how effective these services can help us navigate first the intimidation of government and then the bureaucracy of every system that's in place to get you to where you're trying to arrive in a much shorter time. So if you're struggling with any process, that's the word I'm looking for, then you want to access this arm of your local politician's office and help them open up the way for you. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
All right.
I think you bring up a really good point that with not just with Social Security, but with all government agencies, it can be very overwhelming and discouraging to go in person, to reach out to them, to call. When you call, no one answers the phone. You never get a person on the phone. You go around and around in circles, and there's just numbers that, who knows, right? You get frustrated, you hang up, and you don't fix the problem. We have direct contacts that work within the directors of those agencies, local offices, and they work specifically on congressional matters. So they only focus on our issues, on our inquiries, and they are able to take each individual concern one by one, look at it, and then, like Bishop Evans's experience, be able to contact you fully aware of the problem and be able to help you. So it is daunting for everyone. I think it's important to know that you're not alone. Everyone feels the pressure when they get a government letter or they are confused about something that they want to apply for. And we are here to take that away and to relieve your concern.
So, question I have.
Sure.
At times, I used to feel that because I didn't have a personal relationship with our local politician, that, hey man. How are you? He knows I didn't mean any disrespect. We've known each other for about that long.
Yes.
Just bringing up the fact that I'm a pretty aggressive guy. I'm not known to be shy about anything, but when it's time to navigate government, I've always had a feeling, no one said it to me, but I've had a feeling that access was who determines what. Who you are determines the result that you get. But then when I started working with your office and your office, I found out that the most important relationship in any process that has to do with government, local or state or federal, is the relationship I had with both of you. And that relationship, having that relationship with both offices, gave me access to answers and solutions that I had already determined were not available to me. Am I making sense to you all? And so there was a supposition that I would not be able to accomplish what I needed to accomplish until I reached into both offices and saw the results they could get on your behalf. You see how I'm emphasizing this? That when you have an issue, it is important to reach out, and when you call, make sense. Even though you're full of emotion, calm yourself down, make sense, so you're not seen as some wacko calling, amen, on the phone, and they'll listen, and then they'll respond on your behalf, and it actually feels personal. They're looking out for you, they're getting it done, and you don't get lost in the sauce. They will call you back.
Yes.
I can recall going to places where I was expected based on their office's recommendations. All right, and no, you don't have to be a big bad bishop to have that. Okay, all right? So what we're trying to do today is a couple things. Make sure you know how to access government. Make you aware of services that you may not be aware of. reduce the intimidation of having to navigate the politics of the day, but also get a quicker result and a quick answer to whatever problem you may have. That's light years away from what I used to believe was the process. Am I still making sense to people?
Amen.
Right, so it's really important that we access. I know the questions are building up.
Yeah, we have a few.
Okay, now, we need you all to know that we're streaming nationwide. So our internet audience is, but I'm glad you all came in person because it feels better. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so we get a chance to relate and hear both of these individuals and how they're going to help us. So we didn't care what party you were from. All right, so it's not a combative meeting. We're not trying to lay blame today. What we're trying to do is give you the information you need to operate in the context in which we are operating in at this time. Pastor Nick, you have some internet questions?
Yeah, the most frequent question is around Medicare disability.
Okay.
What that process looks like during the shutdown, how will payments be affected. There's a general uncertainty and fear among the people during the shutdown. So I know it's a very broad question, but that's the general consensus. The majority of people are asking that particular question.
And I think the answer, we'll start with Ms. Espinoza, and then we'll go to Senator Booker, because that's going to give us a local and a federal context as it relates to answer. Does that make sense? All right. So can you lean in on that a little bit?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, Social Security Administration is an essential service, and they are open. Their local offices are open. You can continue to go apply for Medicare as well as disability. And if you have any questions about it, you can feel free to reach out to us, especially if you're experiencing an issue with the agency. And Social Security is the agency that you would apply for Medicare through.
Thank you, Senator Booker.
May I take a point of privilege just to say thank you?
Go ahead, man.
Since before I was a United States Senator, I had the blessings of being in this church community, and in many ways that transition from mayor to United States Senator, I really credit the bishop as being a rock for me in that process. Literally was there during my debates and was a counsel, and in many ways empowered me to where I am today. And I'm just feel very blessed and honored to be able to be with you all again.
And you were early.
Yes. We measured the traffic last night. We thought it would take longer, but Friday night Saturday morning is easier to drive up.
Absolutely.
So it was not bad. I also want to just say that I want to emphasize something that the bishop said. There are a lot of issues that the larger media wants to try to divide us on and tell us we should not like each other. We become more tribal. I love to be in a faith-based forum right now, because I just believe, as a guy who grew up in the black church and understood that Christ's arms embrace everyone inclusively and teach us to love everyone. And I think that we will do a lot better when we come at it with that perspective. And what's been interesting to me about this crisis, and I think my staff can say this, is we've heard from Republicans and Democrats who have the same kind of questions, the same kind of concerns. We've heard from hospital and healthcare leaders who I know the board members of hospitals are Republicans and Democrats who share the same concerns. So this, there may be a temptation at times to blame and point fingers. What my goal is not just through this shutdown, but through what I think are some tsunami waves coming towards our state, and I'll be specific about that in a second, that we in New Jersey can endure. And so what am I concerned with right now is that working New Jerseyans are facing cost increases that are very staggering. And so already we have seen our fuel and energy costs go up 22% in our state. And there's a lot of forces that are driving that. Again, not all of them are as partisan. You can't blame a president for everything that's going on. One is there's just this increasing demand on energy as you're seeing new things happen, the new technology, new innovation. There's new data centers and AI drawing down a lot more. You all know supply and demand. That drives up costs. The frustrating thing I have, though, is a policy disagreement on the new energy coming online, whether it's offshore wind, whether it's preserving, down here in South Jersey, some of our nuclear energy. There's a lot of energy policy fights that are going on. I'm a big believer in all of the above, whether it's gas or wind or what have you. So New Jerseyans are seeing their energy costs go up, gas prices are going up right now, inflation is still driving grocery costs up, and all while people are feeling strapped already, there is another crisis coming, which I call the twin crisis, which is the attacks on Medicaid and the attacks on the Affordable Care Act. That's the frustrating thing that I'm worried about right now. Both of these waves are going to hit our state unless we do something. They're going to hit our state at the beginning of next year. One at the beginning of next year, and then the major Medicaid cuts are scheduled to hit right after the election next year. And that's really problematic. The first wave, which is people are already seeing, is the gutting of the Affordable Care Act subsidy, which is going to drive up New Jerseyans' health insurance costs significantly. I think in our state it's an average of about 120, 150% increase in your health care costs. And so as a family that has an income maybe of $75,000 could see their health care premiums jump up over $1,000. And this is a real impact. Then you add to that the millions of people nationally, hundreds of thousands of people here likely, that would get hit by the Medicaid wave. That means sending more New Jerseyans into the world. Because some people will look at that, I've talked to a lot of New Jersey families that will look at that increase in their Affordable Care Act premiums as they just can't make rent and make those payments. They just can't provide childcare and make those payments, and something's got to go. And unfortunately, we live in a society where healthcare was already broken, already too expensive. Prescription drugs already too expensive. And the things that people usually let go is their health insurance because they can hope maybe I won't get sick. Now, this is a problem not just for those impacted people, not just for the people that are losing their Affordable Care Act premium, not just for the people that are on New Jersey Family Care or Medicaid. And that's hundreds of thousands of our neighbors in New Jersey. But it actually impacts all of us. Because you all know that when there are less insured people in New Jersey, that ripples out and affects every healthcare institution. For example, I talk to the hospitals up and down our state. What happens when more people come to the hospital sick and they don't pay for their health care there at the hospital? They don't pay for it through Medicaid. They don't pay for it through their Affordable Care Act insurance. Those costs then get borne by the hospital, and it straps our hospital. As one major hospital system told me, there's no way we can get through this without cutting services in general. And because more people now will get their health care in the emergency room, it means more demands on our emergency rooms, longer lines for people, and could have a really big impact on the financial models of our system as well. In addition to that, when the major insurers in New Jersey lose people that are paying into that common pool, which often people that are going to choose not to let themselves be covered are a 33-year-old that says, okay, I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm going to pull out of that. When the pool becomes, but a person who might have a chronic illness will make the payments, that means the pools will become, less people will be paying into the pool, less healthy people in the pool means insurance rates for everyone will go up. And so this is the scary thing for me right now, why my staff is working around the clock on these issues, because we're seeing a state that already at the beginning of this year, people were already feeling too squeezed, too much economic challenge, too much economic pressure. Things have only gotten worse across the board, which is why we're having this forum, is because what Democrats in the Senate decided to do was to say to the Republicans, you control the White House. You have the majority in the Senate. You have the majority in the House. And here we are at this point, inflection point, where you're looking to pass a funding bill. You have to come to at least 7 Democrats. There's only one way through to get a funding bill done, which is in a bipartisan way. And you need to sit down and negotiate with us, because what we are going to stand firm on is trying to get some kind of concessions for the American people that are struggling with rising healthcare costs. What we are simply saying is, it's your responsibility as the President of the United States, as our President has said, it falls on the President to get budgets passed, to bring people together to get it done. We are not going to cooperate with you unless you do something to alleviate the rising costs that Americans, in my case, New Jerseyans, are dealing with. That's the line of battle right now, where we're simply saying, you passed your big budget bill, your big beautiful bill as you called it before. It made the wealthiest people in our country a lot wealthier. For people that were working class, the bottom 30, 40% of Americans, it actually raised your cost, raised your insurance costs, gutted things like Medicaid. If you were going to try to pass a budget through us, you are not going to get my vote unless you do something now to reverse some of this damage and lower healthcare costs. So that is the impasse that we're on now, day 11, I think, or 12 of this government shutdown. That is the impasse. Now, it puts our country where we haven't been in years. We have not had a government, during the Biden years, the Senate Democrats, the House Democrats, the House Republicans, Senate Republicans, always came together and we negotiated a middle ground. We in 4 years under Biden, never shut down because we always negotiated. I didn't get everything I wanted. My Republican counterparts didn't get everything they wanted. We found a way forward. This time, the Republicans have said, we're not negotiating with you. And that's the impasse right now. We want to sit down at the table and get something done. But we understand that in this government shutdown, there's going to be pain. There's no way to candy coat this whatsoever. Government employees, a significant amount of them, not all, will not get paid. Government services, from our national parks to other types of services, will be affected. Now, the President of the United States has a lot of power. The President can decide who gets furloughed during a shutdown and who doesn't. And as was mentioned earlier, essential services are not supposed to be shut down. Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security will continue. Even some other services like WIC or SNAP, at least for the coming weeks, will continue. Air traffic control. This is something I've gotten lots of calls on, and we had the Secretary of Transportation go to Newark Airport and say a lot of things, but at the end of the day, it is the President's prerogative to deem air traffic controllers as essential workers. I would say they're essential to our safety, but it's on them to decide. But there's a lot of posturing right now that understandably will create a lot of fear, and that's why the bishop in his wisdom sought to call this forum and invite me to it. And to answer now this question specifically, and I'm sorry it was a long windup, I wanted to set the stage for where we were. I'm a politician who wants to be a preacher, which means I can be long-winded sometimes. I literally counseled with my mom when I was in college about, I feel these two callings. Should I go to law school or divinity school? She's like, it sounds like the devil's got one hand and the angels have got the other. I did not go the way of the angels. I'm a lawyer politician. My grandmother used to tease me, if you're a used car salesman, you got the trifecta. But I want to answer the question and tell you that Medicaid, for those people who are worried about their Medicaid or Medicare, those services will continue. Now, the only thing I want to caution you about is that some of the services in terms of the call centers might be more strapped, or the responsiveness might be more difficult if you have a problem or you're someone just trying to get onto some of these services. Those things may be affected if this carries on longer. How long might it carry on might be a question that you might be getting. How long is this going to go on? I'm hoping it ends next week. But it's hard if the leader of the House of Representatives doesn't even call Congress back into session. That's frustrating to me. But we want to get to the table and negotiate out of this as quickly as possible. The last time we had a in fact, the longest government shutdown ever, unless my staff tells me I'm wrong, was 35 days under Donald Trump's first term. And that was when he said, I'm not going to cooperate with you until you give me money to build the wall. Even though he said Mexico was going to pay for it, he seemed to say suddenly to Congress we were. And the government was shut down for 35 days. That's the longest. And right now we're day 11 or 12. And I think that I'm hoping that we come to the table next week. The big thing we should know, and I don't know if there's any federal workers here, the big thing we should know right now is the first federal paycheck that will be missed, and trust me, that's when the pressure really starts to come on board. Where I'm going to get the pressure from my constituents saying to me, hey, Cory, I can't miss a paycheck. And the Republican districts, everybody, that pain is going to start on the 14th. Yeah. That will be the first paycheck that's missed. So that's the stage. I hope I answered that question well enough. Okay.
That's good.
So I talked to a federal worker this week, coincidentally, and they were trying to get my counsel on the fact that the emotional, psychological atmosphere for federal workers right now is very high.
Yes.
That the stress level is extremely high if you work for the government. They're watching their peers get furloughed. Is that the modern word for fired? Is that?
It is not the exacting word, but furloughed is, I want to be specific here because what you're saying is absolutely right. There's a lot of fear and emotion. And I would go far as say, you may not say this, Pastor, but I feel like government workers are being vilified right now too.
Right.
And so we remember the chainsaw, they came in and they cut a lot of federal workers. They gutted the Department of Education. USAID, they fired thousands and thousands of workers, disproportionately our veterans. And now they're threatening to do that more. So you not only have the prospect of being furloughed as a result of the shutdown, but the President of the United States is saying that he's going to fire more people. Him and Russ Vought are going to fire more people. And he's trying to do that, he says, to cause maximum pain, he says, for Democrats. I think who he's causing maximum pain and worry for is people who are employed by the federal government. And so I'm telling you again, this is unprecedented times. Have we seen this many people be laid off by the federal government? Remember, Social Security Administration, he came in and laid off a whole bunch of people and then tried to start calling people back because as much as you want to vilify these folks, they do really important work. When they started in Republican districts getting phone calls about the fact that they weren't getting the kind of customer service you would expect in the 21st century from the government. So this is a lot of the chaos going on right now, is you have a president threatening to lay off. I literally watched, and I don't understand why the president or his platforms would elevate memes that make fun of, but I saw the Grim Reaper last night. The president's platforms had a Grim Reaper there, like we're coming after these jobs. So that's going to be a lot of the noise you hear right now. If you are a federal worker in New Jersey, I have a couple things to say. One is, if you do not get your paycheck on the 14th, you qualify for unemployment insurance.
Yeah.
So you can go and get that, and our governor and our state is very ready to help our federal employees who might be furloughed. The one thing I want to tell you, though, is if you collect unemployment insurance, when you get your back pay, you have to pay that unemployment insurance back.
Right.
So just make sure that you understand that if you get the money, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, which more than a third of Americans are, if you're living paycheck to paycheck and need that, you can apply for unemployment insurance and get some resources to hold your family together until you get all that back pay. But make sure when you get that back pay, you know that you have to pay that back because the government will come knocking at your door, metaphorically. So that's the first thing I have to say to government workers is that you will get the back pay. Donald Trump is trying to say that you won't. but by law, a law that he signed. He signed the law that says that you will get your back pay. So he would be breaking the law if he followed through on what he's threatening to do, is not paying back pay. The second thing I want to say to government workers is my office is at the ready to talk with you and help you identify, and I know we have people here, other resources that could help your family during this difficult time. So from food banks to other resources, there are a lot of good people in New Jersey. Again, this is not partisan. People just want to help folk. And I know I'm in a church that understands the role of Christ is to be there for people in crisis. If you're a government worker, there are a lot of resources out here that can help you as well.
Thank you. I don't want you, if you work for the government, we don't need a show of hands, but if you do, you know someone works for the government. I was, like I said, I was having a conversation this week, and the person I was talking to informed me that they had the option of being furloughed, possibly called back. The hitch in the callback was that you would have a job until they found someone to replace you.
Wow.
So people are having to make a decision whether to go back with uncertainty, pursue another career. I just had the conversation 4 days ago, and all I could do was tell them to connect with us today. Make sure you hit your constituent services office in whatever state you're in, so that you can get some insight as to what to do if you're put in this, what I think is in a very tenuous position of, okay, they might call me back, but they'll only keep me employed until they find somebody to replace me. That's a little too insecure for me.
Yeah.
You know, so make sure, ushers, won't you make sure that you're collecting the question sheets around the auditorium, please? We have one down here, have one there. We want to make sure we get everyone's concern in. So in the context of federal workers, if they apply for unemployment, has that process been made more difficult in the time that we're in right now?
Go ahead, please.
No, if anything, I would say ever since the pandemic, a lot of our Department of Labor agencies have upgraded their systems, and it's become easier. And one thing I will note is that if you live in New Jersey, since we are so close to Pennsylvania and you work in Pennsylvania, please know that as a federal worker, you could also file in Pennsylvania for the same benefits. They do have that program as well, because it is not nationwide, and some states may not have that option. And then also, there are a lot of credit unions out there, as well as Wells Fargo, that are willing to provide loans for federal employees that are being furloughed and missing those paychecks. And some credit unions are providing zero interest loans. So these are the types of information that contacting our offices, we're happy to provide to you.
Now, just for clarity's sake, part of what you said felt like, wow. So can you do the A part of your answer again? Because I saw some people said, what? That, please, start over.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
So if you're a federal employee, and we do have a lot of federal employees that work in Pennsylvania
That
and
part.
live in New
That part.
Jersey.
Yeah,
Yes.
that part.
If you work in Pennsylvania, you must file for unemployment benefits in Pennsylvania. And I want everyone to know that, as Senator Booker mentioned, there is a program in New Jersey that pays back federal employees if you're furloughed, and then you would have to pay back that money once you go back to work. The same program exists in Pennsylvania as well, so you can also apply through Pennsylvania. And if you need help finding out that information, or if someone you know does, please feel free to reach out to our office. The information's also on our website as well, and we're happy to walk you through it.
And then the other thing I'll add that she said that I think is really important to note because we know this from our offices, is since the pandemic, the services have gotten a lot better and a lot smoother. The customer service is really good. And then the final thing I'll say, because as I told you, I want to be I had dreams of being a pastor, is that the Bible says, "Ask and ye shall receive." Don't suffer in silence.
Yeah.
If you are hurting in this time, please ask for help. Please let somebody know in your community, in your church. Let us know, because even beyond unemployment insurance, during this time, there's a lot of people in New Jersey that are going to work to support federal workers in any way they can.
So there are loans available to you. There's support for you if you're a government worker. You don't want to walk away. Now, the Department of Labor has a table in the hallway. So employment issues, go to the people that are there at the table and get the information that you need. If there are food issues, the food bank is represented. They have a representative here today. Don't leave without contacting those individuals to make sure you have all the information that you need to do what you need to do. Both senatorial offices are here today. There's no way you can leave and say you didn't have opportunity. But also, if you're outside the New Jersey area, we're telling you that all your politicians have constituent services and to tap into that so that you can get local and federal help. Is this making sense to you all? Huh? All right. We're not in church, but I need a response. Amen. All right. Go ahead.
I would like to mention one piece I don't think we touched on either. A lot of federal employees right now are facing experiences that they have never seen before in their jobs. And some of these employees are whistleblowers. Please let them know also, this is something that they can feel confident reaching out to our office about. We are confidential and we want to be that resource. We want to know what's happening and we want to be able to get you to the right place and to get you the information that you need to proceed. And in addition to that, if you are facing long wait times, as Senator Booker stated, a lot of these agencies, whether they're essential or not, have a very large reduction in force right now. There are definitely going to be longer wait times. If you are experiencing that, even if you received the assistance that you need, please let us know, because we want to be able to share that with the agency, how it's affecting the community. As Senator Booker also mentioned, when the administration came in and started cutting federal employees' jobs, he had to bring employees back because our offices let them know this is directly affecting all of our communities, whether it be Democrat or Republican. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us, even if you don't have an issue, if it was resolved and you want to just let us know how the service was lower. We're happy to pass that along.
So just to reiterate, Medicare, Medicaid are not impacted immediately.
Right.
So if you have Medicare, Medicaid, you're okay right now. And I think what will happen is you've been informed, so you know now to check in with your local politician's office and find out the status of whatever benefit you're concerned about. If you're involved in the disability process, which I hear can be extremely taxing, stressful, and extremely long in resolution, you know, you have a resource now to have the conversation. Is this making sense to everybody? All right, so you don't want to walk away today and still feel the way you feel and you've not asked the question you need to ask. Do we have any more, Pastor Nick?
Oh, we have a lot more.
Okay, come on.
Senator Booker, this would be a quick one. When you reference the missed payment on the 14th, is that October 14th or November 14th paycheck?
October 14th.
Oh, okay. So that's next week.
That's next week.
Okay. All right.
You have another one?
Yeah, the next one, we have a few, but we have a few about the military.
Okay.
How's the shutdown affecting veterans, but also the military? They're questioning, of course, their pay and why they're not being paid during this time.
Right, well, if you're a veteran first, the VA services fall into a similar category of the Medicaid and Medicare. They're going to be essential services. I still believe that there are aspects of those services that could be slowed down depending on who they choose to furlough or not. But your VA benefits are essential benefits, and those will fall into the same category as the same category as Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security. The military, this is a big issue. These are people we know in our communities who families have served and deployed. They might be National Guard people deployed. We know these people, they're in our community, but they will miss a paycheck as of now. I imagine that next week there's going to be special legislation to pay the military troops, but that's no guarantee where those things fall. So the military, all federal employees, not the post office, by the way, and not about, somebody said, hallelujah, not the post office, and some others, about a third of government workers fall into this category where they're working in agencies that have their own funding mechanisms built in. Federal courts is an example of that. Since they get a lot of their funding through fees and more, they have enough money to go a lot further before paychecks starting to miss. But the military, yes, as of now, the military paychecks that are expected next week will not happen unless something changes.
Wow, okay.
Right.
I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Assemblywoman Melinda Kane. She's a state elected official. Would you like to join us here?
Good morning, everyone.
Okay. Another question was, we understand that the Democrats are holding their stance on healthcare, right?
Yes.
The question is, there a larger point being made with all the layoffs during the shutdown? Or is something going on behind the scenes that's not being said?
I mean, I could give you a lot of behind-the-scenes color.
The reason for the layoffs.
But let me just first of all tell you, and again, this is counsel by your pastor when I first got this job and others. New Jersey's not sending me down there to be a great Democrat. They're sending me down there to be a great senator for New Jersey. And that means by any means necessary, fight for my state. So let me give you an example. One of the first things that we accomplished for our state was that there was a services for our veterans who had traumatic brain injury that were a pilot program that was going to go away. I went immediately when I got down there to John McCain and developed a relationship with him, and we got those services restored. I have real friendships on the other side of the aisle that have led to very big legislation, from the First Step Act that liberated thousands of Americans from unjust incarceration, to even something that has brought tens of millions of dollars of investment into Camden County called Opportunity Zones that I got done with a partner on the other side of the aisle. Both of those pieces of legislation, mind you, were signed by Donald Trump in his first term. So I just am not a big believer that people sent me down there to play a partisan role. They sent me down there to do everything I can to get things done. And I'm very proud of the fact that in my last 6 years, and this is part of it's because of the pandemic resources we were able to win for New Jersey, but no senator has brought more money back to the state under their 6-year term than I've been able to do for everything from major infrastructure projects, for our hospitals, for our public schools, and more. Now, because I have a good relationship, I have a lot of honest conversation. And a lot of my Republican colleagues see those, I'm terming them as big waves about to hit, see the tsunamis about to hit, and they too know that that is bad for their constituents and bad for their politics. The last time that there was a midterm election in America where healthcare was at the center of it, Republicans got wiped out. That was 2018. And so they know politically, and I've had these direct conversations, and you're even hearing people I never expected, that Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, a Republican, would step up and say Democrats have the moral high ground. Because this is not a right or left issue, it's a right or wrong issue. Never before in American history will this many millions of people be knocked off of health coverage. And disproportionately in the states that vote for Republicans more than the states that vote Democrats. because whether it's Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, they have a disproportionately high members of their populations on programs like Medicaid. And so I will tell you in my private conversations, they know that we have a major problem about to hit America. And to be frank with you, they know that it has happened on their watch when they made those changes to the Medicaid program and have tried for years and years and years, failing in Donald Trump's first term because of John McCain. They've been trying to end the Affordable Care Act. And so I've had elevator conversations with people that saying to me, well, we're going to have to fix that, but we're not going to do it under this hostage situation is what they call it. You hear Thune, the head of the Senate, saying, open the government up as if we're the ones closing it, and then we'll negotiate with you. Now, this is the point that I hear amongst Democrats and Republicans and people who watch. Some people say, take that, a promise to address this problem later, take that. Now, if I was going to buy a car from your pastor, I don't need a contract. I don't need a guarantee.
No, that's right.
Because I trust this man.
Absolutely.
If I'm doing a deal right now in Washington that my constituents' very lives depend upon, because when insurance rates go down, death rates go up, because people defer their medical care until suddenly they're being rushed to the emergency room. I'm not going to rely on a promise to do something. I need a guarantee, a guarantee. And so again, there's 47 Senate Democrats. I cannot speak for all of them, but I'm telling New Jersey, as is my partner Andy Kim, we are not giving our vote away unless we get a guarantee that they're going to do something to lower the healthcare costs of people in my state. That's where we stand.
Question, what effect will the shutdown have on people who are receiving a pension from the New Jersey Division of Pension and Benefits?
No, it'll have no, the short answer is I don't feel like.
I actually couldn't hear.
Yeah, he was asking about what effect it'll have. You are a New Jersey government worker, like, I have a pension with the state from my time as mayor.
It will not affect.
Not
it
affect at all.
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Not affect at
It
all.
wasn't like I was stunned.
No, I totally understand. It's weird when you're on the state, the
I
echo
couldn't
is
hear it.
different than when you're down there. Yes.
I think when we had a conversation during one broadcast years ago, and an individual called in and they were opposed to the CARE Act. And in a moment of surprise, about 3 months later, that same individual called and said, since the time that he had called and said he was against the CARE Act, he'd lost his employment. And if it had not been for the CARE Act, he wouldn't have been able to provide benefit for his family. A lot of times, there's pain, and then there's pain that causes growth. Pain that doesn't cause growth is pain that does not birth concern for others in your life. But pain that causes growth causes you to have a wider view and more concern for people outside your own life. So a lot of times we'll find that people are not, they don't have a clarity until it happens to them, okay? And in the context where we live, hopefully, those of us that are believers, we would have the love thy neighbor principle working in our lives long before we have a personal need for what the neighbor needs. So we really have to not allow ourselves to be siloed emotionally nor spiritually in our context, so that we stop caring about others until something happens to us. And I said all that to say that one of the reasons we're together today, one of the reasons so many people are watching us from around the country online, is because when we know more, we can behave better and think better. And I'm really excited about the fact that you all are here today. And I want to reiterate don't ignore the resource tables in the hallway. At least stop by. Don't assume that what they have available doesn't apply to you. Go out there, have conversations, and make sure you're aware of what's there. And surprisingly, you'll find access to something you or someone you care about may need, if that makes sense to you. All right. Where are you going, Pastor?
Can I
Go
also
ahead.
add
Go ahead.
what you were saying? Like, if you're okay, also don't ignore the news, because sometimes, I've heard from so many people, it's so difficult to pay attention to what's going on because everyone's overwhelmed emotionally, psychologically, and they just have to tune it out. Don't tune it out.
Absolutely.
Keep reading, keep paying attention,
Absolutely.
keep talking,
Absolutely.
because I think when you turn it off, that's when bad things happen.
Go ahead, Pastor.
Okay. This is considering that New Jersey has had a few declared natural disasters over the past few years. The concern about is if something were to occur during the government shutdown, how does FEMA work? How does the state kick in, considering the past few issues we had in the state?
So emergency services like FEMA will continue, they will not be affected by the shutdown. There's horrible storms coming, starting tonight, in fact. So my staff was already trying to adjust my schedule should I need to be out and about around New Jersey, should the storms, God willing, they will not get that serious. I do want to tell you, though, we are in a period in America where government services are being eroded writ large. FEMA is under the microscope, under attack in terms of the funding of FEMA and more. This is why elections matters and different philosophies of government really do matter. And so while FEMA will not be affected by the shutdown, I am very concerned that our president is saying point blank that he believes that the responsibility for natural disasters should be pushed from the federal government onto the state governments. And that a lot of funds that we use to respond to disasters, like forest fire fighting, for example, a lot of federal resources. And most people don't know New Jersey is 40% forests. Last year we had one of our worst fire seasons of my memory. It might be of my lifetime. And we depend upon federal resources to fight and contain fires. And the challenge we have right now is that's becoming increasingly politicized. And I remember after Hurricane Sandy, some Republican senators from states that I was willing to support when they had their disasters were saying they were not going to vote for funding for us when we have our disasters. And again, for me, it fundamentally goes to what the pastor is saying. I believe that we separate church and state, but we bring our values to the work that we do. And my values, which I think are American values, is that you help your neighbor when they are in crisis. And I think that being that we're in a time where climate disasters are growing, we should be investing more resources in preparedness to meet those climate disasters. But when I see the president attacking or clawing back infrastructure dollars that go to help us with investing in resiliency, that makes us all more vulnerable. And that's a philosophy difference. I believe our healthcare system was broken even under Biden. That we, in the richest nation in the land, should not have the highest cost healthcare for the average person. We should not have any American worrying about calling an ambulance because they worry that they won't be able to afford that bill for an ambulance to come to their home.
Unbelievable.
We are the richest nation on the planet that has in our founding documents that everyone should have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, to have life, you must have health care. It should be a fundamental right in this country that everyone has access to affordable health care. But right now, affordable, high-quality health care is a providence of the wealthy in our country and not to everyone. Well, other nations, peer nations, are not like that. You do not see from Canada to other countries in Europe people having to ration their insulin, to ration their mental health medication because they can't afford all of it. This, to me, is a moral abomination. It is actually, in my opinion, moral violence, that you would put someone in a situation where they're deferring their life, their liberty, freedom from fear, freedom from illness, preventable illness, their life and their liberty and their happiness. You cannot have happiness if you have poor health as a result of your inability to afford that. And so this is the battleground that politics is playing out, because some people believe that government's job should be to give tax cuts to the wealthiest so it trickles down to the rest of us. I believe that philosophy is morally bankrupt and hasn't worked or resulted. I believe that what we should be doing is investing in a healthcare system that works for everyone, that we should be making all necessary prescription drugs affordable, that we should be having a nation where emergency aid, where the things that help people in crisis are there for you when you need them. I believe we could do that by doing something really radical, returning to the tax rates of Bill Clinton, when the wealthiest tax rates would be paying a lot more money. Or maybe get more radical, go back to the time of Ronald Reagan. Going back to the tax rates of Ronald Reagan for the highest income earners would bring us hundreds of billions of dollars more in revenue that we could be using to deal with these issues. The last thing I'll say on this is, when the American dream, the idea that I can provide for my family if I work hard and play by the rules, the American dream that I can give my children a better life than me, we are now getting upwards of closing in on the majority of Americans not believing in some of these fundamental things. And what happens when we lose hold of the American dream, people then turn to the extremes to think that maybe this democracy experiment won't work. What we should be talking about is how do we redeem the dream and create a society that, again, has more money pouring through it than any other nation on the planet, to figure out how do we use our riches and our resources to make everyone better. And by the way, I believe that people at the highest incomes will enjoy much better lives if the people in the bottom quarter of our society, who work hard, who play by the rules, do not live in such fear and worry all the time over health care or making ends meet or buying groceries or providing for their children.
You guys, I'm glad you guys are here. You can clear up some misunderstanding for me. My understanding of federal agencies and the necessity for them are because states can't afford to correct certain problems. So my understanding of Department of Education is that they're there to help states meet certain requirements as it relates to education. FEMA, California alone could not afford to deal with all the impact of the fires, so the government steps in to do that. So when we start to believe that federal agencies are not necessary, we're actually saying that the states, watch this, should be able to do what the states have proven they need federal help to do. Now, is that a correct assessment of the necessity for federal agencies, or do I have it all wrong?
I believe what the reason why certain federal government agencies exist is because the issue itself affects the entire country rather than one state. So, like FEMA, there are natural disasters in every single state, and these are issues that we all need help with. With Department of Education, IEPs are nationwide. Social Security, this affects everyone. So I look at it more as federal government agencies are agencies that reach across state lines and issues that affect all Americans, rather than individual states have specific needs within their state governments and their state departments.
And sometimes, do you find that in some states, where the economies are not as robust, that if the federal government didn't step in, people would continue to suffer because of the economic condition of that particular state. So when we're told that the government should hand it over to the states, isn't the very reason that the federal agency was formed was because the states may have had difficulty doing what they needed to do?
Pastor, you're scratching at something that really is compelling, because yes, when a Katrina hits Louisiana and
Right.
cripples that state,
Yeah.
we live in a one nation under God. All of us should be reaching out with our resources to help Louisiana get back on their feet. Because you never know. We're all so in one destiny that there's some little boy in Louisiana that if they get back on their feet, their school starts teaching them whatever, they're going to go on to become a scientist, go on to Howard University, solve some disease. We all need all of us to do well.
Right.
New Jersey the same way. The reason why I'm sitting up here trying to restrain myself is, and I don't mean to be too Jersey focused, but I have a chip on my shoulder, and maybe it's good that I confess in church. The chip I have on my shoulder is New Jersey is part of one of the most productive economic regions on the planet Earth. We are what they call a donor state. We are one of the top 4 states in America that gives more money to Washington than we get back. So every dollar we send down to Washington, in the federal programs, we only get a fraction of that money back.
Right.
So we are disproportionately funding other states. And I get very frustrated when I have spent 10 years, no, strike that, almost 13 years. When I first got in office, one of the first high-level summits I had in my office was having the governor, then Chris Christie, come in to meet with the Secretary of Transportation, who worked for a guy named Barack Obama, to talk about one of the most critical economic arteries in all of North America, where 20% of our economy relies on the smooth flowing of that artery. And that is the Northeast Corridor, which runs right through our state, across the Hudson River. That Hudson River is a choke point that strangles the economy. Every dollar invested in infrastructure in the Northeast Corridor returns more than double that back for the economy. Any of us, if we had an investment that we could invest $1 and get $2 back, we'd be doing that all day. But I am so frustrated that in this fight over this shutdown, the President of the United States has said, New Jersey, I'm freezing the money going to your tunnel project. That's not just hurting us, it's hurting all of America. Not to get this critical artery. It's like you have a clogged artery, not to put a stent in it and open it up. Because why am I begging for dollars? And folks, I do. When it comes to getting money to New Jersey, I'm straight Motown. I ain't too proud to beg. I don't care what it takes to get $1 into my state. I will do it. But it frustrates me that I have to battle with a president who wants to cause maximum pain, not just to us in our state, but to our region. He is strangling the goose that lays a golden egg. Because the more economically productive we are, the more not only wealth for our jobs and our families and the like, and there's so many great union jobs on that tunnel project that are being paused by this president, but we create such an overage that all the other states benefit from the wealth of New Jersey that's being created. Why are you punishing me? Why are you freezing public safety grants? Why are you freezing drug treatment grants? Why are you freezing community violence intervention grants? This president has decided to target our state for freezing grant after grant, project after project, when we are funding his salary and helping so many states that vote for him. Because most states that are these so-called big states that pay more to Washington to get back happen to be the states that tend to vote Democrat, that sustain the states like Alabama. I'm not picking on Alabama. My family's from Alabama, Louisiana. My granddaddy's from Louisiana, North Carolina. My father's from North Carolina. I'm black in America. Most of our family comes from the South. But I'm just telling you that this is a chip on my shoulder. So I'm all in. I will tell you right now, I am so invested in a kid growing up in South Carolina that they are my children. We are one nation under God. But if you continue to come after New Jersey, I am sorry, Pastor, I'm going to act ugly and fight for my state in every way that I can.
Can I just say how lucky are we to have Senator Booker fighting for us?
Thank you. Thank you.
You did have a question on.
Come on, Pastor.
Come on.
Senator, since you brought it up.
I did bring it
The
up.
beginning and this part.
Yes, sir.
There was a question about the renewable energy projects that are for New Jersey and what that's going to look like for our utility bills.
Yes.
Where is there help statewide to help the people with utility bills, considering everything's going up?
I'm actually thinking about writing an editorial about this, just saying that Donald Trump is right in what he says and he's wrong in what he does. So what his rhetoric is, and I don't mind, he says drill baby drill, he says all of the, we have energy, we should be doing more to try to create more energy. That's actually right. I hope that we one day do not need oil and gas projects. I think we should be doing everything we can to end the day that we're exploiting fossil fuel, but that day's not today. Right now, the energy demands in our country are exploding in our country, because all of these new technological innovations are bringing a greater and greater need for energy. And so I am one of these people that is an all of the above person. I want us to compete on a fair playing field too, because they give the oil companies lots of subsidies and tax breaks that they don't give to nuclear, that they don't give to renewables. We should be a country understanding that globally, the global demand for energy is spiking way up. And if we don't start doing, the cheapest form of new energy is renewables, is solar and wind. It's the cheapest to activate. If you wanted to start a new oil, drilling for oil, you have to speculate, do all, but if you want to get wind online, it's a lot easier. And we know creates a lot of good jobs to do that. And so it's just the strategy. If we don't start meeting these energy demands, supply and demand, as the demand goes up, so will the price. And while these big tech companies that are building these data centers all around for the AI demands, as they're going to continue to build those things, they're going to start competing against ratepayers, and they're going to start driving up our costs. One of the biggest vulnerabilities we have in our state right now, after healthcare costs going up, is going to be energy costs going up. And so I am fighting to deal with that. But when Donald Trump decides that he thinks wind is bad for some reason and starts targeting those wind projects, it is coming after jobs for New Jersey and ratepayers. They're coming after your dollars, because we're going to see rates go up if we don't start meeting these demands. I want us to put everything on the table. And I'll be honest with you. I think modular nuclear, which is something that often my party has said something that they don't like, I think that that's a vital part, and it doesn't have any of the risks that the old school nuclear has. We need to do more. When Germany got rid of their nuclear power plants and thinking that they could just use renewables, they became more dependent on Russia for natural gas, and that put them in a vulnerable position to petro-dictators. I don't want that in America. I want us to be energy independent. I want us to do everything we can to meet the growing energy needs, and I want to do it in a way that cleans our environment and creates jobs and economic opportunities for my communities. That's the right strategy.
I think there's I'm not technological at all. I'm in a generation that was afraid of technology when it started becoming a standard thing, and I had to force myself to learn. I'm not sure I'm the only one who initially didn't connect the explosion of AI to higher energy use. We kind of just, artificial intelligence, it had its own source, but that's not really how it is. it takes a lot more electricity to drive the AI that you and I are enjoying at this time. And I didn't know how much energy was required to drive those systems. And the technology is absolutely wonderful, but it's starting to stress our ability to supply the energy, which means we live in a capitalist society. They see an advantage to raise the rates, and they're going to raise them. So we have to connect this technological explosion to a higher energy use, which eventually affects our lives every day as we pay our energy bills. So it's important that we understand that we're not just talking about sunlight and wind. We're talking about how do we pay already high bills, because I think our electric bills are absolutely absurd.
Too high.
Right. And unfortunately, it's beyond, when I grew up, it was my father, turn off the lights,
Yeah.
do things like that.
Yeah.
It's not going to have much of an impact on our utility bills doing that. That's not
Yeah.
where the cost of our utility bill is coming from. It's not small usage like that.
Yeah.
100%.
So heating the whole neighborhood doesn't work anymore? That's what they used to tell us, So we're in an environment where we're advancing rapidly, and we're wondering why our bills are increasing. And part of the reason is the technology requires more power. And because of that, I'm seeing in my electric bills, same people, same house, same general usage, but a higher bill. You're turning off lights, but the bill reflects that you're keeping them on 24 hours a day. So it's, we have to kind of think structurally and think about how other things other than the shock of your bill, there are things attached to that.
Yeah.
And if we don't become self-sufficient, these bills are still going to just keep climbing and climbing.
And that's why we need to reimagine the American bargain. There are millions and millions of Americans who are on a fixed income. And even the small increases to your Social Security check that might come when they look at this certain basket of goods, that's not keeping up with the rising costs of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I talk about reimagining the bargain, and next year is my election year, so you're going to hear me put forward some bold visions for our country.
No.
Yes. But let me test one out for you right now. I think our tax code is inherently unfair.
Yeah.
And I think we need to reimagine it. So one of the things I'm playing with right now, running the numbers, is I think that three things need to happen, but one central pillar is that I don't think any American, because we're all paying federal taxes. You buy a beer, you're paying a federal tax. You buy gas, you're paying a federal tax. And those taxes are regressive because the billionaire pays the same percentage of their income for gas tax as the person making $25,000. So one of my bold ideas, and I'm throwing this out here, I hope you all will tell me afterwards what you think, because next year I'm coming hard with what I think should be a new vision to redeem the dream. But the first pillar of this vision would be that no American pays income tax on their first $70,000 worth of earnings. No tax. And that means if you make $150,000 a year, that first is that first $70,000 is not paid. So that would give every American you would be able to keep, it's not a giveaway, you'd be able to keep more of your hard-earned dollars. That until you reach that threshold of $70,000, then you pay for the $70,000th and first dollar, you start paying those taxes. And so that would lift every working person up thousands of dollars. And you pay for that, because I'm a big believer that I don't want to see America go further into this terrible debt. But you pay for that by getting rid of some of the most outrageous loopholes that corporations and others have won, like something called carried interest, which means a hedge fund manager pays less percentage of their taxes than their secretary. And you return the income tax for the highest earners in the country those people making $500,000 or more a year, God bless you, because they're not paying on their first $70,000 either, so it's fair across the board, but they go back to the tax rates of the Bush era or the Clinton era or the Reagan era, and that would bring, and the corporations as well, back to a 25% corporate tax rate. That would bring a lot more money in to make that even. To me, now we're starting to talk about us helping Americans, incentivizing them to work, and making sure that everybody gets thousands of dollars more to keep of their income than we see right now. What we've been doing over the last 20 years is going the other way. It's more regressivity in our tax code, and the wealthier you get, if you're a billionaire, you have all kind of ways to shelter your money and not pay what I think would be more of a fair share. A couple more things. We have gotten it twisted in this country, where the tax breaks for businesses overwhelmingly go to the biggest corporations, some of whom will pay zero taxes, and the small business entrepreneurs are paying through the nose. We need to get back to incentivizing entrepreneurs and small businesses and making the big corporations pay their fair share. So if the first thing is a tax code that benefits workers on your first $70,000, the next thing is to shift our tax code to favor people who are risking their capital at the beginning, not the big corporations who are paying virtually nothing on their taxes. And then the final thing to, I think, redeem the dream, because I want us to be an entrepreneurial society. Pastor, my grandmother and grandfather moved from Louisiana to Detroit. My grandfather worked a union job. They saved their money, because back then a dollar went a longer way, to invest in small businesses. They opened up a laundromat, they opened up a pool hall, they opened up a gas station, and then the statute of limitations is up. My grandfather did run numbers. It was before the lottery was legit, but they were an entrepreneurial family. And by the time I was coming on, they were George Jeffersons. They had moved on up. My grandfather was doing really well. I want to see more of that. What we have right now is corporations that have global investors getting all of the protections for their shareholders, who are disproportionately big Wall Street finance firms. And for the average American who is entrepreneurial, is creative, we want to give the benefit to them. And the last thing, to redeem the dream. It is impossible to raise a family anymore. The cost of childcare, the cost of all the things that we use to pay for family. Other countries, they have paid family leave, they have affordable childcare, affordable health care for their family. If you choose to have a child in America right now, your chances of going into poverty go way up because it is so expensive. We should be a pro-family economy again. And that means if you're gonna have a child, we do a few things. One is we expand the child tax credit. We did that for 1 year under Biden. We were 1 vote short for making it permanent. But just by expanding it to the Biden era 1 year child tax credit, we cut child poverty in our country in half. And we should have a national program of paid family leave, because I have so many people, disproportionately women, but not all women, tell me they have to make the terrible choice so often of being there for their sick child or being at work and collecting a paycheck. And we need a system of universal affordable child care in America, because in most states, child care is more expensive than tuition at the state college. If we did those three things, just three simple things: no taxes on your first $70,000, become a nation again that rewards entrepreneurs for starting small businesses and help small businesses, and then being a pro-family, pro-children, having children economy again, I believe that the stress on Americans' lives right now would dissipate, and that we would have a far more productive economy for everybody, and we could redeem the American dream.
We have a lot more questions coming from about Medicaid and Medicare, things we already answered already. Bishop said there's a table out there, correct?
Right.
Yeah, for everybody. You have questions about Medicare and Medicaid. But this one comes from one of our local free clinics. The question is, there have been a lot of funding cuts to centers like hours, what opportunities are available to local free clinics in the area?
So I can talk from a federal level if you want me to go first. So really quickly, our local free clinics are in trouble, and we visit a lot of them around the state. And the reason why I say they're in trouble is because often when somebody comes for health care, they will assess, wait a minute, you qualify for Medicaid, you qualify for, and they find other ways to help pay for the services that they're giving in their clinics. There has been a lot of an attack on their ability to get reimbursements now, given who's being pushed off. And so the pressure on our clinics is getting a lot bigger. Now, I don't know of any in New Jersey that have closed yet, but I'm telling you, 3 just closed in Virginia. That I know where we are, these clinics that are trying to help the most marginalized people. And so that's the battle right now, which is trying to protect the resources that for people that establish themselves as nonprofits to serve clinics are there. My team is ready. For whoever asked that question online, please reach out to us in person so that we can work with you to try to identify some other resources to help you.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any that have closed. I know there's the Cherry Hill, the free clinic that is operational and available to anyone that needs medical services.
We have a partnership with the FQHC around the corner on White Horse Pike. We've had it for the last 15 years, and what I've noticed is that the demand for that kind of service has increased exponentially. That even though you have where the Patient First and those other agencies, there's still a tremendous need for those people that are marginalized, and those businesses are not available to them. Because to go to one of those hospital in the neighborhood places, the bill is quite substantial when you walk out of there. So and you know, a lot of times I don't know what's worse, the shock of the illness or a shock of the bill, but it kind of surprises you that you're paying for the convenience, and you're paying a lot for the convenience of not having to go to emergency room, but go straight to Patient First or one of those agencies. They do a great job. We've got some phenomenal ones in this area. They're fast and all that, but the need for the marginalized individual who doesn't have credit cards, who doesn't have medical benefits, has increased as far as we can see from the partnership we have around the corner. So there are some answers that are going to be needed. You may know someone who's marginalized, who may be unemployed. You may know someone who is disadvantaged. And when you hear about cutbacks in these programs, it's a direct effect on people that are not in the positions we are, that we can go and get the help without much stress. But this stuff is real, and we don't want to wait until we're disadvantaged to think they're important. Go ahead.
One thing I will say for any federally qualified health center that needs assistance, if you're looking for grants, please, as Senator mentioned, feel free to reach out to our office. We can help you connect with the different grants that are available, as well as provide letters of support for the grants that you do apply for.
And can I just say something, because I know the bishop has brought this up before, and I want to talk to everybody, but specifically the men that are here that are as hard-headed and even sometimes pig-headed as I am. No, I am rightful. I'm now, Pastor, Bishop. I don't know if I told you that I'm now engaged. Thank God.
I had to hear it through the grapevine.
Sorry, I did not tell you myself. And she's already realized, as she conspires with my mom, how do you deal with this hard-headed guy who doesn't go to the doctor when he should?
Okay.
And I know you've talked to men in this congregation many times. Please do not use this healthcare crisis in America not as a reason not to go to the doctor when you're seeing the early signs of something that could be wrong. I cannot tell you, I get emotional because I'm now of the age where a lot of my friends are getting sick. And those that have gone early and catch things early have a much better prognosis than people who put things off. And that goes for women as well. A very good former staffer of mine just got caught with a very aggressive form of breast cancer, but she caught it early, and the prognosis is good. Another staffer of mine, this I'm saying, I'm of the age now where a lot of people, where his mother had something similar, she caught it early, and and the prognosis is good. So I really cannot tell people enough not to let all of this, if something even seems a little wrong, go to a doctor, let's catch things early. Because I do worry that we still live in a nation that, depending on the zip code you live in, it affects your life expectancy. And in many of our communities, especially marginalized communities, higher maternal mortality rates, higher hypertension rates, and a lot of things, frankly, higher stress rates that do lead and contribute to a lot of problems. So please, 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 I'm trying to be the change I want to see in the world, but we all need to avail ourselves of medical professionals when we see a need to go.
In keeping with this particular thought, perhaps there's someone here who does not have medical coverage, traditional medical coverage, or you know someone, you care about someone who's not in that position where they can get the care because they're not in a plan or whatever. What are the suggested routes that you all can tell us about that will get us to the medical care that we need if we're not covered at this present moment? How do we get help?
You would go to a federally qualified health center.
Okay,
Yeah.
now,
That is, they bridge the gap for
a lot of people don't know what that is.
don't have health insurance.
They don't know what that is.
Right, so we have the Cherry Hill Free Clinic here in the local area. We also have Osborne in Camden. And you can also just, if you were to look up federally qualified health center, it'll give you a list of all of them in New Jersey and across the country.
FQHCs, and you can always reach out to my office. We
Yes.
help connect people to healthcare opportunities all across our state, up and down. I know there's a lot of people watching online. You can reach out to us. And that goes back to the point we made before. Please reach out for help. This is a
Yes.
time there's a lot of people there willing to help you.
And the major health systems in South Jersey do have free mammograms and other free testing for all of us. So there's no excuse.
And a lot of your insurance companies, you may think something's not covered, but insurance companies are getting it too, that preventative care saves them money as well. So you might be surprised at the resources that are out there.
And
for you.
even contacting the Camden County Health Department to get your flu shot. It's free of charge. There's many places to go right now in the season to get your flu shot and to get RSV vaccination, things like that.
One of the things, if you're still wondering, you go to our website. We're having the mammogram truck is coming next Saturday.
Right.
Next Saturday, the mammogram truck is coming to the property. You just need to make an appointment. They do accept your benefits. And actually, I think the mammogram walk is happening right now. While we're in here, they're walking around the property to raise awareness and funds for breast health. So
I saw the pink shirts when I
yeah,
drove in.
they're out there. They're dedicated. They're a little upset with us because we interrupted their walk with this, but we're okay.
You think they'll still vote for me next year?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Pastor Nick?
I think this is a very good question.
Okay.
Senator Booker.
Yes.
Going forward, are there any structural or policy changes you would support to prevent shutdowns from becoming political leverage? For example, reforms to the appropriation process that may ensure these changes are durable across political shifts.
Yes. Oh, God, yes. So I think we should reform the process that everything we could do, and there's a lot of things being discussed right now that can prevent this from happening. You don't see this in many other functioning governments where you have shutdown. The whole debt ceiling, the need to raise the debt ceiling is another thing that even Donald Trump has admitted we should get rid of because people use that in a way that I think was not intended when it was designed. We have a poorly functioning government right now because of the growing tribalism in our nation, and we need to start getting a government where we are willing to sit down and work with each other. I think we are in a very difficult time right now because we have all of these devices that tell us to hate each other. And these corporations want to do everything they can to keep our eyes on the screens. And it's not just the ones we hold in our hands. I tell the story all the time about Van Jones, who was on a TV show called Ceasefire. And he was with Newt Gingrich on that show. And there's a great author named Brene Brown who has a saying that I love. She goes, "It's hard to hate up close, so pull people in." So he gets on this show with Newt Gingrich, and he only knows Newt Gingrich from TV, and TV gives you only a two-dimensional view of people. And he finds out he likes them. They don't agree on everything, but they laugh and they have a good time, they create a friendship. And the two of them together say, we have a lot of things we actually agree on. So they go to the producers and they say, we want to do the last segment of the show. The first two, we argue, debate the issues, but the last one, we'll surprise people every week and show them what we agree on. The producer said, go ahead and try it. And then the producers ran in and stopped them after a few shows and said, you can't do that, the ratings are going down. So what the algorithms and the TV programs have learned is they get a lot more eyes on the screen when they tell you how much you should hate other people, how morally superior you are, and they create two-dimensional visions. I go into rooms sometimes and I see people that look at me like I, insulted their mother or something, because they only know me from their little bubble and don't understand how much I work together. My favorite experience as a senator, one of my favorites was, sometimes I'll grab the phone from my staffers who are in the front office when a constituent calls in not expecting to get the senator, and I like to grab it and say, hey, this is Senator Booker. And they're like, I didn't expect to get you. And so I come in this time wanting to grab a phone, but my staffer said, no, you need to take this call. And I grabbed this call because I used to on Twitter, I don't hang out on Twitter anymore. It's a dark, dark place. But when people used to say vulgarities to me, like blank you, I would tweet back, I love you. We may not agree on these things, but nobody will ever pull me so low as to hate you. And so this person, I get on the phone with them and they say, I don't like you, I don't agree with anything you say, but my daughter saw how you responded to me on Twitter when I said something I shouldn't have said. And she insisted that I call and I apologize for the way I spoke to you. And I was blown away, and I said, your daughter is perhaps a better person than we both are. And would you tell her how grateful I am? And sir, of course I accept your apology. And then I said to him, would you mind if I talk to you for a few minutes and just challenge you on one thing that we don't agree on anything? And he said, sure. And I said, tell me about yourself. He was a veteran. And as soon as he said he was a veteran, I told him all the things I had done as a senator to fight for veterans, from opening up new community-based outpatient clinics here from South Jersey to North Jersey. And I went through this whole litany, and he's like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So we make assumptions about ourselves all the time, fueled by these corporations we are the commodity. Our attention is what they buy and sell. And we forget that we share humanity, that we share more than we know. And so that has now bled into our politics, where when I tell people that I'm friends with Lindsey Graham, people in the Democrats go, oh, how could you even talk to him? How could you even sit down with him?
I'm asking the same question.
I will tell you that under the Biden administration, when Joe Biden let me down a little bit on international aid programs in Africa, I went to Lindsey Graham, who's on the Appropriations Committee, and said that we need to find, we found together billions of more dollars that probably saved thousands, if not tens of thousands of lives on the planet Earth. Everybody, we're all mountain ranges. We all have peaks, we all have valleys. Some of us are like the Rockies and have lots of high peaks. Some of us, pray for me, but none of us are perfect. And if I only meet you in your valleys and don't work with you on the high places, I miss an opportunity to advance things from our state. And so that's the only thing I will say. I know we're running late on time. Do we have time for another question?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, yeah, I do. My staff is now gesticulating wildly at me, because I'd like to keep going, Pastor. Okay.
Excuse me. How does the shutdown affect open season for Medicare?
How will Medicaid overseas?
How does the shutdown affect open season for Medicare? Enrollment.
Enrollment. I was about to say.
I'm sorry. I'm just reading the question as they put it.
I wanted to
enrollment.
look to my staff and saying, "What does open season mean?"
Open enrollment for Medicare.
And I'm looking at McKinsey. I'm looking at you. McKinsey is my South Jersey director. and I'm grateful that she's here today in the front row. It's not going to affect open enrollment for the short term. It could, if this goes on for a long time, start to have some effect, but it's basically not. Mackenzie, I'm telling, yes, okay.
Yes, okay.
One more.
Cost of housing in New Jersey, very expensive. Is there anything that can be done to address the crisis, the cost crisis in New Jersey for housing?
Everybody's looking at you, man.
No, I have a lot of, I mean, this is where I have to be honest. There are a lot of good bills that would help New Jerseyans with their housing. I have some good bills. Like I have a bill that I believe, this is one of the things, that if you can get a mortgage interest deduction, that you should get a renter's reduction on your taxes too, if your rent is higher than the median area rent. In other words, if you see your rent going up and you're paying more than a third of your income, which makes you housing insecure, that you should have the ability to deduct that and to help bring down the housing costs. The problem is that we have to understand is that elections have consequences. And when we're putting people in office that do not have a plan to address the pain points of Americans, those problems won't get solved. There's no way when you need 60 votes in the Senate right now are some of our best ideas to deal with housing going to get through. So I have a lot of ideas, but I'm hoping that on the other side of the 2026 election next year, that America will have spoken and that we'll be electing people that can put a lot of these ideas in place. In the meantime, if you're someone that's having a difficult time making your rent, please don't forget that there's a lot of services out there. When I was mayor of New Jersey's largest city, we created something called the Financial Empowerment Center. And the average person that walked into that Financial Empowerment Center, because they often weren't aware that they can go back 3 years on their earned income tax credit or their child tax credit, or they didn't know that there was this first-time home buyers program. We were able to get people 10% more on their earnings, on their income, just by being made aware of what programs there were out there to help them out. That's why I'm saying, even if you don't know exactly what the cure is, if you are in financial stress right now, you could call up your senator's office and say, look, I'm really having a hard time making rent, hard time getting food on the table, and we might be able to connect you to the resources that are out there that can help you. And not just us. We live, by the way, as a guy who goes all over the country, we are in a great state. We really are. New Jersey has better health care, better public schools. We are above the average for most states in terms of the resources available at the county government, towns, and states. Please avail yourself of the resources we have. And then if you're here in front of me right now, you are also a member of one of the great churches, not in New Jersey, but one of the great churches in America that has a lot of programs and support for people. This is a church that understands their church is not the walls, it's the body of Christ and showing Christ's love. So please reach out to people that are here to help you.
Okay.
Great. One more.
Okay. You just spoke about narratives. And could you talk about this narrative that Republicans advertise their accomplishments more than Democrats do? You just talked about how,
So that is true. I want to be honest with you. I have a real problem. I have a lot of problems with the Democratic Party. I really do. And my mom taught me often, if you're not willing to help solve those problems, then don't talk about them. So this year, I went, or not this year, it really was last year, I went to Chuck Schumer and said, we have a real problem. That the Republicans, where Americans get most of their media on their digital devices now, have so much more engagement with voters than we do, where some of my colleagues don't even have accounts on some of these platforms. And I said, we've got to get better at using these platforms to communicate. I was at a big event, about 200 people, and I said to everybody, it was March of this year, and I said, everybody in this room who was born in March, I want you to chant truth as loud as you can. And I got the whole room, Pastor. Those people that were born in March were yelling, truth, truth, truth. I said, stop. So now I want everybody not born in March to chant lie as loud as you can. And I got them all going. And I said, okay, now on the count of 3, everybody's going to do it at once. And everybody started yelling their lines. And then I said, stop, what did you hear? And everybody went around and said, oh, I only heard lie. And I said, even you were chanting truth. I said, I know, but I couldn't even hear myself. I was only hearing lie. And I go, well, that was the digital environment in the last election.
Yes.
For every 14 podcast downloads that Donald Trump had, Kamala Harris only had 1.
Wow.
There are entire platforms where gamers go, or people that love ultimate fighting go, where they were speaking into those platforms, paying people in those platforms to influence, but we didn't have a voice into it at all. And so I'm one of these people that we're seeing a big change right now in Democrats. 47 of us who are Senate Democrats have now increased our reach by tens of millions of people. So we're getting better, and a lot of the strategies I've brought to my colleagues are working. But I am a big believer that in politics, you've got to tell people. Donald Trump put his name on the checks that were given out during the COVID. And I'm like, I voted for those checks. I was the one that fought for it. But he put his name on it, and I was going around my community where I live in Newark, and people would say, well, Donald Trump sent me $1,000. I'm like, wait a minute. But I don't think Joe Biden did that kind of thing. No. So I just am a big believer that if you're in a job, you've got to effectively communicate to people and find creative ways to break through and to meet people where they are. I was on a sports podcast just this week and met folks where we are. We talked a little bit about politics. We talked a lot about how bad my Giants are doing. And I know I'm in Eagles territory, so I'm going to shut up right now. But you got to go to where people are. That's marketing 101. And we need in American government, in all backgrounds, we just need better communicators than we're seeing right now. Because when Biden went, and people asked me, well, what's Biden done for me? I went to people and said, well, wait a minute. Every lead pipe is gone out of the city right now that was paid for by federal dollars. I said, wait a minute. We had more black business startups. We did this for maternal mortality. We did this. But people said, well, if I don't know these things, how do I know when I vote? So that is a just criticism. And it's something that as a leader, I'm gonna try to get the party to do more of. And next year in my election year, let me apologize to y'all now, but I'm gonna brag a lot about the things that I fought for and was able to get delivered to New Jersey.
Part of it is because of our personality and who we are and what we fight for, that we do not brag. And I've been in government now as an elected official for, I don't know, for 13, 14 years. And I started because my son was killed in Afghanistan, and that was my path to service. And I still talk about thanking my son Jeremy because of what I've done. And people have said to me, stop, give yourself credit for what you have accomplished. It's not what he's done, what you've done. And I have a really, really hard time doing that. I don't talk about what I've accomplished, what I've done. I talk about what he's done, and it's hard for me. It's hard for a lot of people that I serve with, particularly women,
Yes.
to talk about, I've done this and I've done that. That's not how I was raised.
Can you help me give our panelists a round of applause? Thank you. I want to personally thank you for joining us in person, for those thousands that are online. We thank you also for this opportunity. I want to remind you there are resources available to you. Please stop by the resource tables. Department of Labor is there. Both offices are represented by staff. You want to make sure that you stop by, ask the question you need to ask, make the contact you need to make. So this day is a platform for more positive action, more positive results in your life. Once again, I want to thank you for being such a wonderful crowd today. So well behaved. I'm so pleased. Just a wonderful meeting. Do you think you'd like to see us do this again?
Yes.
This will bring us to the conclusion of our meeting. New friends are made. Don't ignore the resources. They're there for a reason. Don't ignore the conversations you need to have. People are here for a reason. The staff is here. Is that okay? Please enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you.